1520.
Conversations that matter.
I gotta tell you, I'm afraid to even think about the next presidential election.
Led by you.
It's a mockery of American politics.
This is WSIC News Talk Now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. You're listening to the Scoreboard here, 844 Studio 4. That is the phone number. We're going to talk sports. Yeah, the wide world of sports, if you will, for the next, let's call it 53 minutes. Somewhere around there. You're hanging out with me on WSIC. This is the Scoreboard. We got a lot to talk about today. The NCAA is bursting back onto the scene. You know, remember all that controversy with Michigan and Jim Harbaugh and recruiting violations during COVID and Connor Stallions, then the recruiting that he was, let's call it scouting. The scouting he was doing of opposing teams before they played. There's very interesting things. Well, we have a ruling from the NCAA. They made an announcement earlier today, not on the Connor Stallions case, but this is for impermissible contact with the recruits and players while access was restricted during the COVID-19 pandemic. Man, this is a severe punishment. So we'll talk about that a little bit. The United States in the Olympics looking really good today. When we look at the overall Olympic medal count, Team USA is still leading all countries almost by 30 medals now. They have 94. People's Republic of China has 65. The United States also is now leading gold, silver, and bronze medals. A few days left in competition. They'll probably get over 100 total medals here. We got some more competitions coming up later in the week. Noah Lyles qualified for the 400-meter final going on tomorrow. Team USA. Basketball, they'll be playing against Serbia tomorrow. It seems like Steve Kerr is thinking about, hey, was this a setup where were they playing possum here, or is Serbia not really all that good? Now, I don't know if that's the case, but I do know that versus the United States, Serbia was even with the U.S. up until they took him out of the game. That's when the U.S. started to open up their lead. So very interesting. We're going to see that game tomorrow. It's the semifinals, so we'll have that. We also have NASCAR coming up. The NASCAR Cup Series heads to Richmond this weekend. I believe they're going to get the race in. I do think so. I know we got a tropical storm coming through the area, Richmond, Virginia, just north of us, but I think everything should be out by Saturday. When looking at the weather, I see rain Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but it's looking like Saturday and Sunday things are going to be A-okay over in Richmond for the NASCAR Cup Series. And not only the Cup Series that'll be racing this weekend, but also the trucks. So keep an eye on that coming up this weekend. We're going to hear from a few drivers later on today, Kyle Busch being one of them, having a rough year, but man, he's still got a chance to make the playoffs. We have 4 races remaining. 4 races remaining before we get to the playoffs in the NASCAR Cup Series. I know it's been a while, and we're going to start bringing NASCAR back now. You're going to be able to hear the race here on WSIC on Sunday. Coverage begins at 5 o'clock. But I want to give you a points update. So the regular season points standings, as it stands, Kyle Larson is your point leader. Chase Elliott second, Tyler Reddick third, Denny Hamlin fourth, Ryan Blaney sits in fifth. We have a few drivers here with multiple wins this year. Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, William Byron, Christopher Bell, and Ryan Blaney, all with multiple wins. There are only 4 more non-win playoff spots remaining, meaning there are still 4 spots for a driver to point their way into the playoffs. Right now, Martin Truex Jr., Ty Gibbs, Chris Buescher, and Ross Chastain own those spots. Bubba Wallace only 7 points back, though, so keep an eye on that. Chase Briscoe is 18th. He's right behind Bubba. He's 83 points back. Now, I know it's not impossible to make up that kind of a gap in the points. We saw Bubba eliminate almost 50 points at Indianapolis, so not out of the question, but definitely an uphill battle for Chase Briscoe, Kyle Busch, Michael McDowell, Josh Berry, if they want to try and point their way in. It gets a little bit weirder as you get down there. Michael McDowell, 148 points behind the cut line. Mathematically, yes, he can point his way in. Is it realistic? No, not really, honestly. So we'll have some drivers to hear from. We'll hear from Chris Buescher, Kyle Busch, Noah Gragson all throughout the week. And a reminder to you, if you're fans of NASCAR, when we come back to Richmond on Sunday, teams are going to have an option tire. Now, what does that mean? That means if you watch Formula One at all, you know about the hard, soft, and medium compound tires. Well, NASCAR now has a race tire that they normally use, and then they have the prime tire, which is the option tire. So basically, the prime tire is a softer compound that drives faster, it gives you more grip, but it wears out faster. So it's going to be interesting to see how these teams use that. Now, you're required to use the soft tire, or the prime compound tire, I should say, during qualifying. But this doesn't seem like something where, unless we get a late race caution, or I don't even know if a late race stage caution, like 10 to go in the stage and the caution comes out. I don't know when these drivers are going to want to put these prime compound tires on unless it's the very end of the race. It's the first time they've been doing this in a points-paying race. Now, remember, NASCAR introduced this tire during the All-Star race earlier this year. Everybody put on the prime tire at the end of the race, but it never fell off. It ran like 50 laps without that prime tire really falling off a cliff, which is not what you want when you have an option tire like that. You need it to fall off a little bit quicker. Maybe because it was such a short track that they were racing on, it didn't have time to fall off. Richmond is still a short track, though, so we'll see what happens when we get there on Sunday. But the weather looking good. I think we're going to have some racing. And just a reminder, the race on Sunday is a little bit later. It's a 6 o'clock start. Weird to have a NASCAR race start at 6 o'clock on a Sunday when there is no holiday that coming Monday. That has to do with Olympics scheduling, NBC, when they can broadcast the race. So just a little clarification for you guys there. 6 o'clock will be the Cup race this coming Sunday. We're coming up on our first commercial break of the program. When we return, I want to talk about this NCAA punishment of Jim Harbaugh. It's a severe punishment, I'd say, but it kind of depends on how things go in the NFL for him. I'll explain when we return. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to The Scoreboard, and we'll be back right after this.
This guy knows his sports, right? There's more of The Scoreboard with Joe Berg on the way on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Tropical Storm Debbie going to start to make herself known in the Piedmont, especially by tonight and through the day on Thursday. For our Wednesday, it's really not a bad day of weather. Mostly cloudy. Temperatures climb into the mid-80s. We'll run the chance of a passing shower or a storm as we go into this evening. But rain chances really ramp up overnight and into the day on Thursday with rounds of heavy rain and gusty winds, 30 to 40 miles per hour. Be ready for some potential flooding, too. What's your forecast? From the WSIC Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
The WSIC app is available now wherever you get your apps, featuring local deals from great local businesses like Greystone Lodge in Boone.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Langtree Live in Mooresville continues their free Thursday concert series with Hey Ladies on August 8th. Hey Ladies brings the best music from the new wave era to life. Catchy choruses and fun beats will encourage you to get up and dance. Langtree Live welcomes lawn chairs, has food and drink for sale in the afternoon and evening, with the Hey Ladies concert beginning at 7 p.m. The Second Friday Street Festival is back for the August edition. Celebrate in style on Friday at the Oak Street Mill in Cornelius with live music, local craft breweries, food trucks, sweet treats, artisans, vendors, a kids zone, games, and giveaways. Call your neighbors, leash up your pups, and come celebrate at the Second Friday Street Festival in Cornelius beginning at 5 p.m. Downtown Statesville opens up for a family-friendly day of fun on the second Saturday of every month. Broad Street welcomes pop-up vendors, raffles, event day specials, do-it-yourself experiences, and more. The second Saturday day of fun begins at 11 a.m. in downtown Statesville. The Cookout Monster Truck Bash is at the dirt track at Charlotte Motor Speedway on Saturday, August 17th. Sparks will fly as the metal-bashing 2,000 horsepower machines return for a night of high-flying action on the planet's most diabolical outdoor course. Gates open at 4 p.m. Bring a Cookout Cup for early access to the pit party beginning at 3:30. Pit party includes monster truck rides, inflatable slides, bounce houses, face painting, an autograph session, and souvenirs. Opening ceremonies will begin at 7. Visit charlottemotorspeedway.com or the CMS app for information and details. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Your Tuesdays just got a lot better. The Good Soul, a feel-good show that dives into the stories of extraordinary people, is headed to WSIC. Host Patty Alvarez brings a sit-down, fun conversation to the airwaves to give you an early week pick-me-up. 24/7 worldwide, non-stop.
WSIC.
Local starts here. Talk sports with Joe Berg. Call 844-STUDIO-4. It's the Scoreboard on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. It is segment number 2 here on the Scoreboard. 844-STUDIO-4. That's 844-788-3464. We were talking about NASCAR heading back to Richmond and the option tire. The prime tire, as NASCAR has decided to deem it. Let's go ahead and hear from a driver. Kyle Busch. This is what Kyle Busch says about how he expects teams to utilize the option tire this coming weekend.
With this car, what can be really interesting with it is if you put them on and you want to gain track position, you can put them on earlier and get yourself up front, and then put your other tires on, your controls, I call them, and hold the competition off that put the softs on. So it'll be dependent on how all that looks, but I would imagine guys are definitely going to hold their last soft set for the last run of the race to try to end on those if they can.
And I feel like that's kind of what the strategy for everybody is going to be. You want those soft tires. You don't want to be the one person on the regular tire with 15 laps to go when everybody else is on the prime tire, because we saw it in the All-Star race. The prime tire is fast. We'll hear from a few more drivers throughout the week. Chris Buescher, Noah Gragson slated to make an appearance here on the Scoreboard. Not in person. I just have some audio from them that I'll be playing throughout the week. We had some breaking news from earlier today. The NCAA handed Jim Harbaugh a 4-year show cause for recruiting violations. This was during the pandemic. The NCAA said that they engaged in unethical conduct, failed to promote an atmosphere of compliance, and violated head coach responsibility obligations. A show cause penalty. So if you don't know, a show cause penalty basically means a school wanting to hire a coach serving that penalty must appear before the NCAA committee on infractions to explain why it wants to do so. Here is the order for Harbaugh. It starts on Wednesday and it runs through August 6th, 2028. It requires any school wanting to hire Jim Harbaugh to suspend him for the first full season. After that, Harbaugh would still be barred from athletic-related activities, including team travel, practice, video study, recruiting, and team meetings until the order expires. So you can hire him. Let's say it goes terribly with the Chargers this year and Harbaugh loses his job. You can hire him. You're just not going to get him for a few years. And I think that kind of has a pretty big impact on, well, Jim Harbaugh's life. What if he blows up this year in LA? Is he going to get a new NFL job? I don't know. This kind of feels like a prove it year. Can he go back to college? Well, yeah, he can go back to college, but if he does, he's going to be suspended unless he goes back to college football after August 6th, 2028. Very interesting situation that Coach Harbaugh has found himself in. By the way, this is completely different than the NCAA's investigation into impermissible in-person scouting and sign stealing allegations. That was the whole Connor Stallion situation. He was found on the sidelines, apparently, of some schools during their games. Very weird situation there as well. So Harbaugh, we're not going to hear from Harbaugh today, but he is supposed to speak with media tomorrow. We'll see if anything comes of this. And it is interesting. I mean, he is not allowed to coach in college basically until 2028. So you better hope that things go well in LA this year with the Chargers. And not starting off on the right foot, that's for sure, with the injury to their number one quarterback over there. Whoo, boy, Justin Herbert, you better get well fast, man. Get well fast because Harbaugh needs you. He's going to need you. It would be sad to see him get let go after 1 year, even if it is a terrible year. I mean, it's your first year on handling the squad. So I think these coaches need to be given a little bit of slack, but if he does have a terrible year, he better hope there's another NFL job waiting for him because he's not going to be going back to college. I don't think anybody would want to offer him a coaching job until this show cause expires. August 6th, 2028. That's about 4 years from now. 3 years and 365 days because it was from yesterday. So there's the update on the NCAA. Jim Harbaugh. Michigan not really going to be affected by that all that much. There is investigation into Sharon Moore and his conduct and allegations that he violated NCAA rules related to in-person scouting and sign stealing. That was part of the whole Connor Stallion situation. So Michigan's still being investigated, but they're not going to be punished for the Jim Harbaugh illegally talking to recruits and players during COVID situation, which, 4 years seems like a lot for that. It really does, because what coach wasn't going to try to talk to their players and their potential recruits? I have a feeling a lot of coaches were talking to their recruits. It just feels like he's the one who got caught in this situation. And if I had to make a bet, I would say there's plenty of other coaches around the world of college football who were talking to their players, who were talking to their recruits during the dead period of COVID in 2020. Because that's how you build a program. You can't just stop talking to these guys. You got to stay on top of them. I find it comical. It is a little bit comical in my eyes. Steve Kerr has some words about the Serbian Olympic team. Nikola Jokic, the star of that squad, he wonders whether or not they might have played the long game with the American team and be ready to unveil some surprises when the two teams meet tomorrow. Now, this is going to be the third meeting in less than a month between Serbia and the U.S. Remember, they played them in a warm-up game prior to the Olympics, decimated the team. They won by 26. Then they played in group play, where they won by 26 again in Abu Dhabi. I'm sorry, that wasn't in Abu Dhabi. The first one was in Abu Dhabi. So yeah, I don't see why the Serbian team would be playing possum by saying taking it easy. Maybe they were. And what I will say is they were much better with Jokic on the court than off the court. But that kind of goes for every team that they play, not just the United States. I would expect Jokic to be in 90% of the game, maybe even 100% of the game, because you can't really pull him. And these NBA players, they're used to playing high minutes. And if Serbia is serious about wanting to take down Team USA, they're gonna leave him out there. He'll be able to manage. He's a big boy. It's a lot of playing time, but he'll be able to manage. And I expect nothing less than that, honestly. I really do think that Serbia is going to have Jokic out there for the entire game. Now, that game is tomorrow, 3 o'clock. So we'll have the results for you tomorrow on the scoreboard. Speaking of basketball, by the way, Team USA women, they took down Nigeria 88-73 in the quarterfinals. So they clinch a spot in the semis. Very good win for them. You know, it's kind of a given that the women's team is going to win. But kind of like soccer, you know, it feels like, yeah, we're better just because we're better. And that's the way it's gone for the past few years. With the women of soccer, and it's been a few Olympics since they've gotten a medal. They'll have a chance to get a gold medal coming up later this week. I believe that game is going to be on either Friday or Saturday. I don't have it right in front of me, but plenty of gold medal games for Team USA coming up. They won against Australia in water polo earlier today. That was a pretty good match. Team USA holding on, moving on from that quarterfinal matchup. So plenty of gold medals still to be had for Team USA, plenty of silvers, plenty of bronze. You know, you got to go for golds now. I mean, we are pretty firmly ahead in the silver and the bronze category. Gold is where it's at. Now, we have 24. The Republic of China, People's Republic of China, whatever they want to put it out there as, the IOC, whatever they have it listed as, they have 22 gold medals. And actually, the most medals by an individual is from China. I won't say who it is because honestly, I don't want to butcher the name, but she has 6 medals altogether, 5 bronze, 1 silver, all of them in swimming. Obviously swimming, because you're not going to swim and then go run track. That would be something, though. Coming up on our next break here on the scoreboard, when we return, talk a little baseball. Oh my goodness, the White Sox won a game. Who would have thought? Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this.
More of Sports Director Joe Berg's The Scoreboard is coming up on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Well, Tropical Storm Debbie going to start to make herself known in the Piedmont, especially by tonight and through the day on Thursday. For our Wednesday, it's really not a bad day of weather. Mostly cloudy. Temperatures climb into the mid-80s. We'll Run the chance of a passing shower or a storm as we go into this evening. But rain chances really ramp up overnight and into the day on Thursday with rounds of heavy rain and gusty winds, 30 to 40 miles per hour. Be ready for some potential flooding, too. What's your forecast? The WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
At Bunch Johnson Funeral Home, our service to families is second to none. We're here for you when you need it most. Let us help you focus on healing. We'll handle the rest. Bunch Johnson Funeral Home.
Bob McIntosh here with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Serving this community has been a collective passion of our law firm since 1997. We offer the quality legal services and results you would expect from a large downtown firm, but with a personal, community-focused approach right here at home. The McIntosh Law Firm, your local legal resource.
To learn more about the McIntosh Law Firm, visit McIntoshLawFirm.com.
Attention, fellow conservative investors. What does the name Reagan mean to you? It stands for being the ultimate conservative. It also stands for the Reagan Gold Group. Do you see storm clouds approaching? The stock market hates uncertainty, and there are plenty of reasons to be concerned. High inflation, unstable debt, and economic uncertainty are just a few. You have car insurance, homeowners insurance, and life insurance. But do you have insurance for your retirement savings and your 401k? We urge all fellow conservative investors to learn about the one asset that could help ensure your nest egg doesn't crack under economic pressure. G-O-L-D, gold. Call the one name any conservative investor needs to know about. Reagan Gold Group.
800-296-1557. 800-296-1557. 800-296-1557. That's 800-296.
Folks, you know Randy Marion Ford Lincoln in Statesville is known for the prices and selection, but I tell you what, you may not have known the distinction that this store received with Ford and Lincoln this year. We received the President's Award for 2023 for Ford for the 5th year in a row. We also received it for Lincoln for the first year, and I tell you, those awards don't come easily. It all boils down to taking care of the customers and having the vehicles you want in stock for you to buy.
Have you taken the Desco Challenge? Desco is where the professional goes for electrical supplies.
My name is Ashley. I just redid the lighting in my home, and the customer experience at Desco was second to none.
See for yourself at DescoInc.com.
I'm Bryce Johnson with this Unpacking It Sports and Faith Minute. In basketball, running an isolation offense requires balance. While isolating a certain player can be beneficial at times, it often leads to negative results if used too much. In our own lives, we also need a balance when it comes to isolation. On one end, it can be very negative for us if we're always alone and don't interact in meaningful ways with others. The Bible says, whoever isolates himself seeks his own desire, he breaks out against all sound judgment. On the other hand, there is great value in seeking the Lord in solitude, as it prepares us to be involved with others. Jesus led by example in demonstrating the rhythm of isolation and going out and ministering to others. He would regularly go out by himself to pray and then would return to be with his disciples. Today, let's be challenged to spend time in isolation while also finding opportunities to surround ourselves with others to do life with. I'm Bryce Johnson, and you can unpack that. For more, go to unpackingit.com.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Stocks finished lower even though they started the day higher. The Dow lost 234 or 0.6%. The S&P down 41 or 0.7. The Nasdaq gave up 171 or 1%. Boeing is taking another hit. NASA is working with Elon Musk's SpaceX to bring 2 astronauts home from the International Space Station. That's if officials decide not to use the troubled Boeing craft that carried them to space. Airbnb CEO is responding to his company's disappointing outlook by saying it's a good time to buy. The firm says it's seeing slowing demand from U.S. guests and is issuing a third quarter outlook below expectations. Airbnb shares today were down 13%. The Disney Magic was missing in the last quarter, and so were visitors. The company missed on results due to weakness at its famed theme parks. On the plus side, it's finally seeing a profit with its Disney Plus streaming service. I'm Nancy Lyons, Bloomberg Radio.
It's the Scoreboard with your host, Sports Director Joe Berg on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
All right, everyone. Segment 3. Halfway through the program. You're listening to the Scoreboard 844 Studio 4. That's 844-788-3464. I just joined this league for fantasy football, a sleeper league. Apparently, it's the Survivor Fantasy Football. I have never heard of this, but I'm gonna try my best. I don't know if there's anybody else out there who does fantasy football, but I used to. I don't find it as fun as I once did. Anyway, not really. Not really the point of why we're here. Why we are here today. Let's talk some baseball, why don't we? Oh, the Chicago White Sox. They won a baseball game yesterday. The losing streak ends at 21 games. I don't know how many people were rooting for them to get a win unless you're actually a Chicago White Sox fan. And I've talked about this before. When it's bad and when you see a team losing, just something about it, you want to see them keep losing. I really don't know what it is about that. Maybe because the story's better, more to talk about the more you lose. And when you finally do get that win, it's kind of like, oh, well, yeah, you got the win. Whatever, you're not really interesting anymore. And that's kind of what happened with the White Sox right now. They won. They beat the Athletics, which honestly they should have been beating. The fact that they lost game 1 of their series to the Athletics, like, what were you doing? So they get the win last night. They break their losing streak. And when you look at the standings, hey, I guess they're still alive, technically. I don't see anything saying that they've been eliminated. 40.5 games back of the division lead. 35.5 games back in the wild card. This will be an all-time comeback if they can do it. It's not happening. You know I'm just playing around with you guys. They are not going to be making the playoffs this year. They beat the Athletics, who aren't having a good year either, 47-46. I don't even know if their owner wants them to have a good year. I don't know if their owner cares anymore at this point until they get to Las Vegas, where they're going to be playing in a tiny stadium, and it's going to be hot all the time. Apparently, it's going to be an outdoor stadium. I don't know why you build an outdoor stadium in Las Vegas for a summer sport. But hey, here we are. It should be interesting. I don't know how many baseball players are going to want to go to Las Vegas if the stadium is outside. It just doesn't really make sense to me. Anyway, we have some games going on now. As always, we have games going on during the day, during the night in baseball. Diamondbacks got a win over the Guardians. That was a big one for them. Astros beat the Rangers. Big win there. And the Cubs took down the Twins. There's a lot of big baseball games going on right now. A lot of interdivision play happening as well. So we'll keep an eye on things, see how everything's going. Standings, not much has changed since we last talked about it, except the Yankees have officially taken the lead of the AL East. They are a half game ahead of the Baltimore Orioles. Orioles have a game later tonight against the Blue Jays. And the Yankees are actually in game 1 of a doubleheader with the Angels. Now, I had heard a rumor that they were going to have a triple header, and I had never heard of that, so I'm pretty sure that is not true. I only saw one outlet reporting that, and it didn't look like a reputable source. So I looked into it. No, it's whoever. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought there. That was bad. 844 Studio 4. That's funny. Lost my train of thought. Yankees in a doubleheader against the Angels. It is not a triple header. They got 2 games today, 1 more tomorrow. And they lead the Orioles in the AL East right now. A lot of interesting stories and when we look towards the standings and kind of just how teams have been faring since the deadline. Cardinals been playing 500 baseball since the deadline. The Brewers just under 500. They're not doing all that great. The Dodgers are really starting to falter here at the end of, well, we're not even at the end of the regular season. We still got 2 months to go. But the Diamondbacks and the Padres are now only 4 games back of the division lead in the NL West. This Dodgers team was supposed to be incredible. It was supposed to be one of the greatest teams ever assembled. And here they are, kind of just trying to tread water throughout the rest of the regular season. I mean, I know they have injuries. I understand that. But where's the depth? Where's the star power on that team? It's interesting to see, man. It really is. So the Dodgers a 4-game lead right now. Phillies got a win. And it's interesting. The Phillies get a win while the Braves continue to lose. This was really a good chance for the Braves to cut into that division lead that the Phillies had, as they've been really not playing good baseball over the past month or so. But they get a win. The Braves have lost 3 in a row. So that gap in the division between the Phillies and the Braves still sits at 6.5 games. Some other interesting races here. The Mariners and the Astros are still very close, with the Mariners a half game above the Astros. Texas Rangers now only 5 games out of that division lead. Interesting to see the Rangers and the Diamondbacks, the 2 teams that played in the World Series last year. They had really bad starts to their seasons, and they're starting to come on a little bit stronger here at the end of the year. So just an interesting little thing there. You got to look at these teams that are hot at the end of the season. Now, it's not really the time to peak. You want to peak with like a couple of weeks left in the season. That way you're playing your best baseball going into the playoffs. I don't think that's what's happening here. I just think they've kind of been a little bit more consistent at not being terrible, which the Dodgers have been pretty bad. The Mariners and the Astros have not been faring well either. Astros lost a no-hitter in the 9th inning here recently. That was a brutal one, but still losing baseball games as well. That's kind of your look around Major League Baseball right now. We talked about the breaking news from yesterday. Major League Baseball is going to be playing a game at Bristol Motor Speedway. I still do want to know what the dimensions of that ball field is going to be, because I haven't seen anything about it yet, where home plate's going to be, what the wall fence is going to be. Now, we've seen football played in there, which, I get. The infield of Bristol is more shaped like a football field than a baseball field. But next year, it looks like the tentative date on this is August 2nd. The Atlanta Braves, Cincinnati Reds playing at Bristol Motor Speedway. You know what? If they can pack that stadium full, that is going to be an atmosphere right there. Baseball, I got to give them credit for the interesting landscapes that they've decided to play at over the past few years. You had the game in Iowa with the Field of Dreams game. You had the Negro Leagues game not long ago. And now we're going to have a baseball game at Bristol Motor Speedway. So MLB is at least trying to do some interesting things. Will it catch on? That's yet to be seen. We got one more segment, ladies and gentlemen. Hang tight with us. We'll be back right after this.
More of Sports Director Joe Berg's The Scoreboard is coming up on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Tropical Storm Debbie going to start to make herself known in the Piedmont, especially by tonight and through the day on Thursday. For our Wednesday, it's really not a bad day of weather. Mostly cloudy. Temperatures climb into the mid-80s. We'll run the chance of a passing shower or a storm as we go into this evening. But rain chances really ramp up overnight and into the day on Thursday with rounds of heavy rain and gusty winds, 30 to 40 miles per hour. Be ready for some potential flooding, too. What's your forecast? The WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Langtree Live in Mooresville continues their free Thursday concert series with Hey Ladies on August 8th. Hey Ladies brings the best music from the new wave era to life. Catchy choruses and fun beats will encourage you to get up and dance. Langtree Live welcomes lawn chairs, has food and drink for sale in the afternoon and evening, with the Hey Ladies concert beginning at 7 p.m. The Second Friday Street Festival is back for the August edition. Celebrate in style on Friday at the Oak Street Mill in Cornelius with live music, local craft breweries, food trucks, sweet treats, artisans, vendors, a kid zone, games, and giveaways. Call your neighbors, leash up your pups, and come celebrate at the Second Friday Street Festival in Cornelius beginning at 5 p.m. Downtown Statesville opens up for a family-friendly day of fun on the second Saturday of every month. Broad Street welcomes pop-up vendors, raffles, event day specials, do-it-yourself experiences, and more. The second Saturday day of fun begins at 11 a.m. in downtown Statesville. The Cookout Monster Truck Bash is at the dirt track at Charlotte Motor Speedway on Saturday, August 17th. Sparks will fly as the metal-bashing 2,000 horsepower machines return for a night of high-flying action on the planet's most diabolical outdoor course. Gates open at 4 p.m. Bring a Cookout Cup for early access to the pit party beginning at 3:30. Pit party includes monster truck rides, inflatable slides, bounce houses, face painting, an autograph session, and souvenirs. Opening ceremonies will begin at 7. Visit charlottemotorspeedway.com or the CMS app for information and details. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
The school year may have ended, but WSIC's Teacher of the Month contest is still in session. Head to WSICnews.com to vote for your favorite teacher. Winners receive prizes from Nina's Boutique and Brighter Smiles.
76 years strong, and we're still the one. WSIC. News. Talk. Now.
The Scoreboard with Joe Berg continues now on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, final segment on this Wednesday. We got a storm coming in tomorrow, don't we? I've heard a lot about there's going to be a lot of rain, but we'll see. Take it easy if you're out on those roads. Final segment here on the Scoreboard. Wrap some things up. Talk about what's going on in the world of this day in sports history. August 12th. That date is a little significant to some people. Cross country, men's soccer, volleyball, women's golf, women's tennis, and cheerleading all have their first contest in North Carolina high school athletics. Cheerleading, cross country, men's soccer, volleyball, women's golf, and women's tennis. Man, that came up quick. Monday, everything is getting back in action. School must have already started. Had to have. I don't keep up with the high school schedules. I have no reason to. But school must be in session already. I know I kind of heard that some schools start next week, some this week. It's got to be because you're not going to play games while you're not in school, right? I don't know. But hey, the next week after that, high school football has its first contest. August 23rd, right around the corner. Friday Night Lights are going to be back in action. I'm excited this year, man. I really am. We had a fun time last year covering high school sports throughout the fall, winter, spring, all of that. We went out to South Iredell High School and watched them take on Lake Norman. So that was a lot of fun. Be looking to do some more things like that throughout the year. Some Olympic updates for you here. As the day wraps up, there are no more events going on. The men's beach volleyball quarterfinal, United States dropping to Qatar. We had the steeplechase earlier today, my favorite, jumping over a wall and falling into water. Kenneth Rooks got the silver medal in the 3,000-meter steeplechase. We talked about women's basketball getting the win over Nigeria, 88-73. The men's 400-meter final, Quincy Hall getting the gold medal over Matthew Hudson Smith of Great Britain. More U.S. updates for you. We talked about this one as well. Team USA beating Australia in the quarterfinals of water polo. And for the first time in over 20 years, the United States got a medal in artistic swimming, which used to be known as synchronized swimming. Now it's just called artistic swimming. It was the silver medal for the Stars and Stripes. China got the gold. We also have a silver medal in the women's pole vaulting final. Katie Moon got that silver medal. Tom Shaw got the silver in men's park final for skateboarding, and the U.S. men lost to Poland in a semifinal match in indoor volleyball. And here's a fun story for you. Hampton Morris, who is a weightlifter, he trains in his garage in Marietta, Georgia, suburb of Atlanta. Hampton Morris got the bronze medal in men's weightlifting. It is the first medal the United States has gotten in weightlifting in 40 years. Yes, you heard that correct. It's been 40 years since the U.S. got a medal in weightlifting. Hampton Morris got it done for us. So congratulations to Hampton getting the bronze medal. Any medal in weightlifting, especially when you haven't gotten one in years, that's pretty awesome. Some team sports for tomorrow that are going to be taking place. A lot of basketball, a lot of beach volleyball. Team USA later in the day, the women's semifinal in water polo against Australia. That's going to be then. 3 o'clock tomorrow, we talked about it. Men's basketball semifinals versus Serbia. And that's all of Team USA's games, team games at least, where we're going to be playing tomorrow. Lots of athletics still yet to go on at the Olympics, and we still haven't started a couple of them. I cannot wait for breakdancing. That's going to be so much fun. We are on the eve of Carolina Panther preseason football. Tomorrow night, the boys will be in Foxborough, Massachusetts, taking on the New England Patriots. We talked about this a lot yesterday, but it's worth bringing up again today. I think it is a terrible idea to not have Bryce Young playing because, well, he needs to play. He really does need to play. He didn't have a good enough year last year to earn the right to sit on the bench. Seriously. And I don't mean it in a mean way. And I don't care that people are concerned about injuries. Oh, it's football. People are going to get hurt. Get out there. Figure out how to play. Because you had a terrible year last year. I don't see why we're not trying to get Bryce Young ready and acclimated for the year to come. And I get it. He might not be playing number one defenses, but still, it's different than a joint practice with another team. It's different than running drills in training camp. It's different than playing against your first defense on your team. You got to get out there and get game action to improve. It's my biggest criticism right now on the Panthers is you need to play. I said the same thing about Caleb Williams and the Bears during the Hall of Fame game. I said, you know what? Just get him out there for a series. Let him hand the ball off 3 times. Even if you punt, put him out there. Let him see this is real. This is now the NFL. I don't know. Maybe I'm just off base on that one, but I think these players need to stop being babied during preseason and get out there and play. But it's a business, and they don't want them to get hurt. Because if your starting quarterback gets hurt, well, then the fans aren't going to come to the stadium. That's kind of, you got to keep that in mind as well. So that's the world of sports as of right now. We'll have a lot of Olympic updates for you. Maybe some more news on this Jim Harbaugh story. And, man, baseball is starting to heat up. Unfortunately, though, baseball is going to get overshadowed here in about a month by the beginning of the NFL season. Game on Thursday, game on Friday, and then games on Sunday for the NFL. And on Monday. Can't forget about Monday Night Football. Let's take a look at some things that happened on this day in sports history. Starting it off, back in 1929, Babe Ruth tied an MLB record by hitting grand slams in consecutive games against the Philadelphia Athletics. 1938, the 2000th Brooklyn Dodgers home run was by legendary shortstop Leo Dorcher. I probably spelled that or said that wrong, but I did my best. On this day, 1956, Satchel Paige wins a game before the largest crowd in a minor league baseball game. 57,000 people showed up for a minor league baseball game. That was on this day, 1956. 1991, Carl Lewis, Mike Marsh, Leroy Burrell, and Dennis Mitchell set the 4x100 relay world record in Zurich, Switzerland. Carl Lewis, man. Uh-oh. I always say that when I hear his name. Just so funny. 1992, the Orlando Magic signed Shaquille O'Neal. There's a lot of good things that happened in the world of sports today. Wade Boggs became the first player to hit a home run for his 3,000th hit. The second player ended up being Derek Jeter years and years later. Jerry West retired from his executive vice president of basketball operations role with the Lakers. Greg Maudow entered the history books with a 300 career win in Chicago's 8-4 triumph versus San Francisco. That was on this day, 2004. And on this day in 2007, Barry Bonds broke Hank Aaron's long-standing MLB record for career home runs with his 756th career home run. If you believe that's the record, then that's the record. A lot of people choose not to acknowledge that record because, well, there's a lot of controversy surrounding it. There is so much that happened on this day in history. Ichiro Suzuki got his 3,000th hit. Michael Phelps got his 19th gold medal on this date. Katie Ledecky set a new world record in the 400-meter freestyle at Rio in 2016. And Kevin Durant had 29 points as the U.S. men get the gold medal over France in Tokyo. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, have a good night, everyone.
Serving you better than ever before. 105.9 100.7